Hey gardeners, Amy here with Garden Up, and with me today is Alan. Once again, I'm so excited to have you back. Thank you so much. So originally we were going to do both of these topics in one video, but we realized that that's just going to make this way too long, and so we're going to separate. So this video is on shot hole fungus, so if you're interested in pruning cherry trees, make sure to check my channel. I would have posted that one last week, and if you want to know about fungus, continue watching this video. This tree, along with so many others in Spokane this year, has developed shot hole fungus. And so I'm going to have Alan talk about what shot hole fungus is. So go ahead and take it away, sir.
Shot hole fungus is a relatively common disease. It is called Coryneum blight, C-O-R-Y-N-E-U-M blight, and it affects all members of the prunus family. That's your cherries, plums, apricots, nectarines, peaches, almonds, flowering almonds, and mountain laurel.
So anything in the prunus genus is affected by this disease, and
Yes.
it's a fungus, right?
It is a fungus. The little tiny holes that look like somebody has literally taken a shotgun and gone after, unloaded it on the poor tree.
Yeah.
Mild infections, you'll just see a couple little holes here and there. Not a big issue. When it's just a few spots, organics will help keep it minimized. And ultimately that's your real goal, is keeping the disease minimized.
Yeah.
When it starts to get to look like somebody has just taken to skeet shoot practice on the thing and you almost can't find a leaf without a hole, then it's time to really seriously look at getting a actual chemical treatment to it. Myclobutanil is the active ingredient that works on this stuff gloriously. It takes about 2 seasons to drop it back down to a controlled level. Myclobutanil is a product that is approved for fruit tree use. So
you can spray it on your trees.
You can put it on your cherries, you can put it on your plums, and still harvest them.
Okay. In the same year?
In the same year.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And clear on that.
The treatments are generally started in March, about the time the leaf expansion begins. And you only need to treat it 3 times. By then, the fruit's just barely beginning to develop, and by the time the fruit's ready, the chemical itself has broken down, is out of the system, out of the tree, and doesn't show up in fruit, so it's a whole lot of win.
I'm an organic gardener, and so this is like, but here's the thing, guys. You can be as organic as you want to be. There are some times when there's not really another option. Chemicals are needed sometimes, and this is one that does not harm pollinators.
Nope.
It does not harm insects.
It does not harm anything. It just kills the fungus.
There we go.
And as you said, most of the time I prefer to go organic. But there comes that time when it starts, this disease affects the photosynthetic ability of the plant.
Yes.
A little bit like is going on here, 2-3 holes, not such a big issue.
Not a big deal.
But this is actually root weevil. But when your leaf starts looking like this, and shot hole fungus can do this to the leaf, that's when you are really affecting the plant's ability to supply the nutrition it needs.
Yeah.
That's when you really need to start looking at the stage of, okay, we need to step the game up. We need to get the tree treated, bring this disease back under control, and get that tree healthy again. Because otherwise, it'll start to decline. And once the decline starts, you're one of 2 points. Treat it or kill it.
And here's the other thing. Okay, so again, be as organic as you want to be. I fully support that. I am as well. But this doesn't just affect your one tree. And this is a huge deal for orchards and farmers, because if your tree is affected by this, we'll talk about how this spreads in just a second, it will spread to the orchard that's, a couple miles away. And the more these diseases get to the orchards, the more the farmers have to spray, because they don't have another choice. If this kills their trees, like if this gets into their trees, their whole orchard is gone, and that's their whole livelihood. So it's really important, if you have fruit trees, any fruit trees, including prunus species, you've got to take care of them, and keeping diseases under control is your #1 priority. If you're going to take the responsibility of having fruit trees, you've got to take care of them. How does this disease spread? Because this is one of the parts that's really interesting.
The disease itself can spread through spores through the air. It can also be vectored in by insects, animals, anything that come in contact with the spore heads, which you'll never see them. They're just itty bitty microscopic things you'll never see. It's not like a mushroom sticking up out of your lawn. These guys, spore producers, are microscopic. Anything that comes along, comes in contact with it, will pick them up and transport them away. They're small enough that, yes, wind can bring them.
Yeah.
And like this tree here, with the breeze that comes from that direction, there's another prunus just down the street. It can catch it.
Yep. It's already gone to my plum tree over there as well.
This one it's vectored by a lot of different means. Air is most common.
Including
Pruning, yes.
You gotta keep your tools clean, okay guys?
But the biggest hazard of shot hole fungus is not so much that it will absolutely destroy a tree in enough time, but that it doesn't have tight boundaries. It's not like powdery mildew, which will only affect a maple. It's not like anthracnose, which will only affect a sycamore. This guy here, this Coryneum blight, will go from cherry to plum to apricot to peach and on.
And on and on and on. And the more it spreads, if this goes to that orchard, it's going to then move to the next orchard.
And it can very rapidly. And it's, you know, if you've got more than one fruit tree in the prunus family, you can pretty much be wind up with all of them having this disease.
So I've got this cherry, I've got my plum, my purple plum that has been giving me fruit, and I absolutely love it. I was going to take that tree out because it was just like, it gave me no joy, and then it gave me fruit, and I was like, oh, okay, this is delicious.
Redeemed.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll let you be here. And then I just purchased a peach and a cherry.
Present there.
Yeah, and it's already on those too. So this is not something to mess with.
No, and truthfully, the one that you purchased from the nursery very easily could have come from the nursery because it's a common disease. It's prevalent. This particular year, where we were so cold and so wet for so long, that is fungus haven.
Yes.
They like it cool and wet, and so this disease has exploded this year because the conditions were absolutely favorable.
Yeah.
And when it explodes, that's the time to really seriously consider looking at having actual fungicide treatments done, because it's never going to get less without some mitigating.
Is there a natural control for these fungi?
Unfortunately, not really.
That's what I thought.
A lot of your insects and a lot of your fungi are doing exactly the job they're meant to do. Thin out the population. Well, in our landscape environments, there's no population to thin. But before we came along, these guys, you'd have a cherry forest that's 50, 60, 100,000 trees deep.
Yeah.
And fungi, insects, things like that come through and they take the weak ones out.
Yeah.
And the strong ones thrive and they fill in and life goes on.
Yeah. So the balance was...
The balance is
they would
population
control the trees. Okay.
But
Very
now we
interesting.
are in a situation where we have all of our wonderful landscapes and everything's looking all nice and right where we want it. The disease don't care. It doesn't know this. It just wants to come along and say, I'm doing my job here.
And especially if you have a tree that's already weak, it's just going to be opened up to it as well. So if you've planted your tree in a place that's not ideal for that tree, that's going to open up that mortality spiral and just get it started even easier.
It's just mostly, if you see a little, you can use your organics. Copper-based fungicide is the best approach to it. Copper inhibits a lot of the growth.
So
don't mix with horticultural oil. Bad juju. Bad juju.
Don't mix your chemicals, organic or not.
Right. Horticultural oil will also help to suppress the disease by smothering the spores and preventing them from sprouting. The copper is a little more effective because it actually has properties that affect fungal growth and minimize it. So organics are great in an early stage.
So am I still early enough that I could get away with copper?
You're on the border.
I'm right on the border.
You're on the border.
Well, so, and then
some of what I'm seeing up higher and in other places, it's getting kind of thick. It's looking a lot more like somebody didn't stand a mile away and shoot at your tree. It looks like somebody got point blank and let it go.
Yeah, but only 1 or 2 shells. Okay.
Well, 5 or 6. Anyway, close enough.
Anyway, now what about pruning it out?
The pruning it out is good for removing what is currently infested. The problem is this is spores. Spores are just microscopic.
Yeah.
And it only takes a little bit of water for these things to get going into the plant. So a little bit of dew and it's in there, and you will never see it until the fungus is already going and growing and showing. Matter of fact, we can take a look at that tree over there. I can show you what a current bout of infection looks like.
Let's do it.
This is a peach tree, and it has a couple stages of the Coryneum blight going on in it. The holes are where the disease has run its full course. Once the disease runs its full course, the center dries up and then just falls out, which gives it the shot hole appearance. However, there's also these little red spots that are in here where it hasn't completely finished its job. There's a couple of them over here. That is the current infection where the disease is actively growing, actively working, and spreading out its little fungal feelers to absorb all the nutrition and things that it wants to survive. So we've got both a past infection and a current infection going on. You'll never do anything to fix the past. Treating this right now with the myclobutanil would stop that current progression of infection. The tissue will still be damaged, but it won't drop out, and what little bit of photosynthetic ability is left there will continue on and just help the tree along. But that's how, this is where you will see, this is its early stages, and what you can see it looks like. And you won't ever see it at its very ultimate beginning because it's so small. You'll only see it once it starts reaching an appreciable size. You can walk by this 1,000 times and never notice it until you start seeing the brown appear. But treating this tree right now will get rid of the current infection, won't do anything about the old, and it'll get rid of anything that might be leading into, anything that might be that we're not seeing in here anywhere.
And what about timing as far as the microbutanil and the copper? Can it be applied any time of the year?
The copper you would want to apply early in the spring, right about the time the leaves begin to expand. This disease can come up from spores that have been leaves on the ground. That's one of the control methods, by the way. Keep your leaves picked up.
Yep, sanitation.
But the disease will start early. About the time the leaves begin to expand is when the spores begin to become active and start to thrive. And an early spring, if you do it before leaf, use dormant oil. If you use it at leaf break, use the copper, because then you'll be protecting the leaf. That copper will remain until, well, rain washes it off, so 2 minutes or 2 weeks. It's okay.
Who knows?
The copper would be a good start if it doesn't inhibit it enough. If you start seeing a lot of the shot hole symptoms appear, which will be the little brown dots that are visible on here, look at seriously stepping up to the next level. The fungicides you would want to start to begin mid-March, and you would treat 3 weeks apart, 3 to 4 weeks apart, 3 times. So mid-March, mid-April, mid-May, that will bring the disease under control for that season. If it's a mild infestation, you can probably eliminate it for that season until something brings it back in. If it's a major infection, this is kind of what a major infection looks like, all those tiny little holes, but picture it all over the whole leaf.
Yeah.
If it's a major infection, it's going to take you 2 seasons to get it down under control, back to where the organics can help maintain a minimal appearance of the fungus.
So on my plum, like this is wind damage right here.
This is some form of what we call mechanical
damage. This is probably it getting hit by the car.
Car, wind,
honest.
hail.
Yeah, whatever.
Dog, you know.
Could be anything.
But
this
one
right
is
there.
actually shot hole, because right around the outside edge of it, you can see a little brown residue from where the fungus ended, and then the center dropped out.
Yeah.
This tree is one that I would call minimally affected. This one, organics can still have sway on and keep the disease under control and keep it from harming the tree in any significant way.
Yeah, yeah, so, awesome.
And there's another truth of shot hole fungus. Some trees it affects worse than others. For some reason, the purple plums resist it the most.
Good to know.
Apricots,
Yeah.
not so much.
Not so
Apricots
much.
tend to be like the magnet for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for watching that video. I hope you learned something and it was a good value to you. Thank you so much, Alan, for
My pleasure.
joining and helping me film this. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll see you in the garden.
Have yourself a good one.